Hi, I'm Kathy from Stitch It Together, and I am making this video to share with you the process of making a template from a picture of one of your blocks. So I'm working on a Dresden plate block, and I tried to audition some patterns for it by using Quilter's Lightbox, which is a free pattern, a free program from Sweet Dreams Quilt Studio. What I learned from that is that the Dresden plate that I have, it's going to be a little harder than I thought to purchase a pattern. So I'm probably going to end up having to draw one or strongly modify one. So in order to do that, I like to make a template from a quilt block. And I thought I'd show you how you do that. Please forgive me when I may stumble on some words. I do not have a script. You're seeing me do this in real time. And so I hope you can just bear in mind that I don't have a script to follow. So I'm going to get a picture of my block and import it into PatternCAD. Oopsie, let's just undo all that and go to background. This is a picture that I already took. So that's something, if you were going to do this, you would want to do. I think that one was the better picture. So let's do that. And it's too big, which is fine. We're just going to unmagnify right here and maybe move this just a little bit. So what my intention is to do is to draw a pattern for this block. But in order to do that, instead of drawing on this background picture, and you can see it's rather dark, and it might be hard for me to see all my design in that, I'm going to design a template. I'm going to trace out using this photo, and then I'm going to save it as a template so that it will act like its own background, and I won't have to use it as one of my layers. And that allows me to go back and forth with other layers when I'm designing something without having to worry about the actual pattern or template, because that will remain in the background no matter what I do. So in order to do that, you're going to see that I'm going to do some tracing, and I'm going to want to use these lines. So there's two different types of drawing in PatternCAD, and that's where you have more like freehand drawing, which would be like this. If I was going to try and draw like this, which they call evenly spaced um, nodes, but I don't want to draw like that. I want to use these types of lines right here. So I'm going to undo all of that. And I'm going to turn the nodes off right here. I'm going to turn them off, and that will allow me to use these types of lines right here. I'm also going to leave on continuous lines. Now, because I'm making a template, it really doesn't matter if I have continuous lines or not. It's more important that this be pretty accurate to the shape that I'm tracing, because I'm not going to stitch this. This is just for me to be able to use in the background to make a pattern for this block. So it's not important if I have continuous lines or not, but I like to draw with continuous lines just because it's easier. So what I'm going to try and do, let me move some of this stuff for zoom out of the way here. I'm going to trace over this pattern. In order to do that, I need to be the boss. And so I'm going to be switching back and forth right here to draw and edit, because I'm going to use probably the arc shape. These look like arcs to me. If they were a little more pointed, I might use a line. If they were more like arrows, if they were more satellite shaped, I might go with the parabola. If they were very irregular shaped, I might go with a spline. But I have been using Pattern CAD frequently, and these to me look like the best way to do these are going to be arcs. So that's the line type I'm going to use. So I'm going to start with an arc, and I'm going to just trace the pattern. And in order to do this, I could do this where I draw a line, and then I would go to here and I would tap my space bar. So even though I used the line type for an arc, you can still draw a straight line with it. You just wouldn't edit the line. So if I were to tap the space bar, I can then drag that line to the shape I want it to be. And I could do that um, one at a time as I went. But what I like to do to make this a little bit faster is I'm going to draw all the lines first, and then I'm going to select them all and pull the handles all consecutively. So this is what I mean by doing that. So I'm going to be on draw. I'm going to make sure that I'm in arc, and I'm just going to do the best I can to trace out this pattern. Just like this. I think I want to go backwards for that one. Uh, one more. Get right where that one is. There we go. So one of the things that I already know about this particular block is I am going to have to do very simple designing inside of it because I have done some measuring, and these um, blades right here, they're not all, they're not consistent. So what that would mean is if I were to copy this, a portion of this, say a quarter of it, which would be five of these blades, five of the petals, and try and then paste it into this block, which if it was symmetric, perfectly symmetric, I would be able to do. What I already know because I have measured these is that it won't do that. So what my strategy is going to be is to design something that is very simple so that I can go into PatternCAD as I am stitching it out. And I will probably have to edit every single block at least a little bit to get the pattern to fit. So simpler is going to be better for all the things that have to do with this block because they are not consistently the same size. And when I say the same size, I mean like some of the lengths are even different. So I know that this is not unusual at all for Dresden plates and blocks that are made like this. And so simpler is probably always better. But that is the strategy that I'm going to go with. Move this. I don't know if you can see when I move my zoom things, but that's what I'm doing there. All right. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called snap some points or snap my lines. What that is where I have back stitched if I was going to be back stitching again. This is not going to get stitched out. Um, I have points that are not quite right up on top of each other. If I were to zoom in right here, let's see if I can do that. Try to zoom in, you would be able to see that some of these lines, some of these points right here are not quite on top of each other. So it will be to my benefit, even though I'm not going to stitch this out so that I don't have, so to just make it a little bit more accurate, it would be to my benefit to snap these lines together, these points here together, to get a better fit. So can only do that one at a time. I wish there was a way to do more than one at a time. I might come back and do that at some point. Okay, I might come back and do that. So just to get on with what we're doing, I'm going to go ahead and say select all. And when I do that, you'll notice that because I use the arcs, I now have handles on all of these lines. Now, I'm not going to pull the handles or edit the straight lines, but I am going to pull these out. I know that my template is not going to be perfect, but it's more important to be accurate because, again, none of these blocks are going to be the same. So having perfect would really serve no purpose. I'm going to end up having to edit these blocks, I think, anyway, when they're on the frame. Okay, so now that I have all of these done, I think I want to add a circle to the inside. And in order to do that, I'm going to say back to draw. I'm going to probably, where is my endpoint? Uh, my endpoint is all the way up here. So if I want to stay with continuous line, I would just tap down here and let me just go ahead and do that. So that's where my endpoint is. So the next line is going to be right here. So I've drawn the line and I have it on arc. So I want to go all the way over to here and I'll tap my space bar and I'll pull this handle, trying to get my circle, and then go back to draw right here, tap the space bar, and does that look like a circle? That looks like it's about the best I'm going to do. So that's fairly accurate for what I'm going to say these blocks are going to be like. So now I'm going to save this, and I probably should have saved it once already. I'm going to say hold Dresden. I'm going to say save. Yes, I'm going to say overwrite. So what I want to do now is something that I'm a little bit frustrated with because I shouldn't have to do this. But QCT is doing something very strange and they don't have a fix for it. It is sometimes not saving the last line that you drew. So now I actually want to go back and see, yes, okay, so now it looks to me like my whole Dresden plate is saved. So that's good. So I'm not going to worry about it. But I cannot tell you why sometimes it's doing that and sometimes it's not. But Grace has confirmed to me that it's not me because I kept thinking, oh no, what am I doing? But it really is a problem and they don't know how to fix it. Or Ron from tech support has not been able to find someone that knows how to what to do to fix it. So now that I have saved just the plain pattern, I want to save it as a template. In order to do that, I'm going to go to the toolbox right here. I'm going to go to templates and then I'm going to say save. It's going to go to a file. And if you've never made a template before, you won't have these folders right here. These are in the templates folder. These are the ones that I've created. You would probably just have these right here. But I'm going to save inside my template. As you can see, I did this once before, and you can see it did not save my last line, which is why I had to start again. So I'm going to save this one. Says it exists. Yes, I'm gonna go over the top. And again, I want to make sure that it really saved all those lines. So now I'm going to go back to templates. I'm going to say load, and I want to look at it. And this time it did indeed save all my blades. So I'm just going to say cancel. So what this is going to do for me is, well, let me just show you. I'm going to cancel everything. I'll get rid of everything. I'm going to go to background and say clear. I'm going to delete the pattern that's here. Delete everything. Just go to a toolbox. We'll just say clear all. There we go. So I want to put my grid back in the background. So I'll go back there and now my grid is here again. I'm going to go to the toolbox and I'm going to load the template that I just made. Load. Here is what I just made. So what that is going to do for me is that now this is always going to be the background and I have my active layer and my inactive layer available to me. And I don't have this on either one of those layers, but I can see it. And it is way better in terms of me being able to see what I'm designing versus having to design over the top of the picture, because I could certainly do that too. But I have just found that it's easier for me to be able to see and to have this as a template and use it that way. So that's how I do it. Now, I teach a PatternCAD class that actually is much better scripted than this, but I hope that you might learn how to use the templates and maybe just by watching how to use a little bit of PatternCAD. And I hope that helps you. Happy quilting.